At the very outset, I would like to thank Pickle Factory Foundation for actually creating this beautiful interactive session. I never get to talk to you otherwise. Really
Absolutely.
to think about it. We're not being able to discuss or speak something. It's just hi,
Yes.
hello when we meet. So I was wanting to ask you, Shashwati, you're such a brilliant Odishi dancer, and you're doing so well. You are like a idol for a lot of dancers, the young dancers. So what is that thing that you are trying to think about and create to bring in the new generation into Odishi dance?
I think, Tanusree, when I started learning with Shormila, the first and foremost thing that I realized in that very disciplinary training, the kind of freedom she would give and create in the training process. And that kind of brought me to delve into the form as much as I can. Similarly, when I started teaching, which was very late because I started my solo career and performed with Shormila in the repertory and was touring with her. So I did not have the head to start an institute. I was not so confident to teach at the beginning. But when I realized that the first thing to grow as a dancer is to share, I have to share to the next generation so that I can grow more as a dancer. I think similarly, I want my students to have that freedom within that very, very disciplined format. And in that process, I have made uh, new vocabularies of movements of the structure where, for an example, like we have a format of 10 Odishi chauka steps in the traditional format created by the gurus. Later with time, when I started understanding those simple 10 steps, because the Odishi basic structure is not very huge. It's very limited, but it's very difficult and intricate. So I started making newer formats within those 10 steps. So at the moment in my institute, I teach like 50 Shibhangi and Chauka steps. From 20, it has gone to 50. So I have broken them, and that I think gives a lot of interest in understanding and breaking up the movements to smaller ones and explaining one simple movement to the students. My style is a lot, it is very movement oriented. It has, from Shormila, when we started, we took a lot of movements from the folk culture of Orissa, and which is a huge, huge, it's like an ocean vocabulary, yes. So when we used to transform those movements, uh, I could understand and relate how the changes are happening. So I think the first and foremost thing is freedom to each movement, and breaking up movements gives me a lot of interest. I love breaking them up, and that is how I can help them relate to this form. That is the one thing I would say helps me out. The second thing is I would like to constantly perform till I can, so that my students, they have a constant picture in front of them of whatever I'm teaching them. I don't want to stop. So I think that is one thing also, because they always want to see something in front of them as an example. So my performing career helps me a lot to build myself as a teacher also. I would like to ask you that how your journey has been from the day you started learning Shankar style, uh, one that why did you choose to learn this? And secondly, when you started the entire journey, if you can just say briefly that uh, you started as a student, then you became an integral part of the family. Now you are a head of the institute. I'm sure there has been many experiences, and how you made this form your dance, how you grew with the sensibilities and vocabulary and made it your own.
I always had this interest in dance as a child. And being in the army, you are always going around in different cities. And army is a very cosmopolitan crowd. So at the,
Yes.
at any kind of a function, whether it's Durga Puja, Saraswati Puja, Holi, Diwali, anything, all the children are brought together to do some function. And whether anybody comes or not, I used to be the first one to go. So I always had this very passionate love for dance. But when my father got posted in Kolkata in Fort William, he was the one who actually saw this. He never forced me to become a doctor. So he was the one who found out that Uday Shankar and Amula Shankar had a school called the Uday Shankar India Culture Center. So that was the first time I started learning formally. This was in 1969. I went to a formal dance school. And I was very lucky in the school that we were open, exposed to Bharatanatyam, Manipuri, Kathakali, which we had to learn. It was compulsory. And we had fabulous gurus who taught us. And my mother-in-law, Srimati Amula Shankar herself, would take this Uday Shankar style of dance. And I was just about a teenager, 12, 13-year-old. And at that time, you're like a sponge. You are taking in everything that comes your way, and being so passionately in love with this form. I mean, I would be the first one to reach the school and the last one to leave the school, that kind of a thing. The more you learn, it's like an addiction. You get addicted to that form. But after I got married, I always thought, now that I'm married, I'm going to have a house, you're going to be a housewife, and like the way I've seen my mother. But I have a husband who was a different kind of a person. He was very motivating, and he would say, you're being very selfish. That God has given you a talent, and you're not sharing it with people, like you said. I said, I know, I love to dance. Whenever Ma will tell me I will go for the show and all that, he said, no, you have to go for it and, try and make it into your profession. If people like you for your talent, they will, accept you. They will not accept you. They'll go to see a show once if you're Uday Shankar and Mamla Shankar's daughter-in-law, Ananda Shankar's wife. That's it. If you're not good, they will never go back. So that is how my career as a choreographer started, thanks to my husband. He pushed me and every little thing he would say, just try it. If you can't do it, if it's bad, you don't do it the next time. And that is how it had been going on, and I'm sitting here today. you know and I think that passion was something which got me to get into this whole phase of learning more. I would try and see what all is going on in the world, around the world. What are the different kind of techniques going around the world? And to tell you very honestly, Shashwati, if you see Uday Shankar's work in Kalpana or his last work, which was Shankoskop, both of them were very contemporary. I wouldn't say contemporary, but it was beyond time.
I have seen
Thought,
Kalpana.
yeah,
It's
he thought
fabulous.
ahead of time, ahead of time.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
Kalpana in the 40s, can you think of machine dance and the way it was picturized, the movements,
yes,
uh, you know, the women trying to walk alone and, being liberated
yes,
at that time before independence.
yes, yes.
That was his thinking. He was so modern in his
Mm-hmm.
thinking. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if he was there, he would think something beyond what we are thinking. but in his work also, you will see it's very, very innovative, very creative, with a very strong, footing of Indianness. He was very, very conscious about that, that you have to know your roots, where you come from. That was his main, the parameter was that. And he just showed us the path, that you can be very innovative, you can be very creative. His whole style was walk to dance. Anybody who can walk can always dance. He thought we have innate rhythm in us, the way we walk, the way we run, the pace. So that rhythm is there, and the refined form is the dance. Because I think any form needs a base, needs a grammar to sustain. And Anda was very particular that he would see my Baba's dance or Kalpana, and he would say, can you break this movement as to how he had done it? So having thought of, trying and sort of dissecting them, we created a certain base. Based on that base, we later on, we add the life, the feeling, the soul, and give the freedom to the dancers to create on their own, to be innovative on their own, not to copy each other, and to choreograph. I have tried to be taking the students and the dancers along with me, holding their hands, exposing them to different techniques of the world, so that it's not half-baked. They should know what the grand style, if they want to know what a contemporary dance is, they have to know those styles properly. It's not that they have to use that, but you should know. It's like differentiating between Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, Manipuri,
Absolutely.
Each one is, you just can't say I'm a classical dancer. Immediately people are going to ask you, what form do you do? Isn't it?
Yes.
So it's the same thing. So in my institution, I try to follow the path shown by Uday Shankar, the wonderful training given to me by Amala Shankar. She was a brilliant teacher, and we are nowhere close to that. And I'm very, very happy and grateful that I've had the opportunity of learning from her. So whatever little I can get of her, I pass it on. And I pass it on, and I think hopefully someday it will get passed on also. And that is how a particular technique or it will survive, like the Uday Shankar style. That's
very beautiful. Very beautiful. Thank you so much, Tanusree.